Welcome back to the Hard4Games channel, everybody. We recently had a giant haul of N64, DS, Dreamcast, even an NES prototype, and I normally don't go through them one by one in the channel. Normally, if something really interesting happens with one of them, I'll do a video, but there were a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through them one by one. But before we do, big thank you to our channel members for supporting the show. If you want to join them and get special perks, click the link below. Otherwise, at some point, either now or when the video is done, if you could leave a comment, it always helps. You can say anything, just say hi, say, hey, what is this thing on your finger? Is it that your daughter smashed a pinball plunger on your finger and caused blood blisters? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let's go ahead and get started. This is a real mixed bag. We got some good, bad, and ugly. So let's start with the well, bad or ugly here. These guys, oh my God, what a disappointment. Oh my goodness. Now these all work, these all run in an N64. We got Chameleon Twist 2, Rakaga Kids, if that's how you pronounce it, Top Gear Rally, and Toy Story 2. Here's the problem with every single one of these. Apparently there is a very rare dev board for the N64. Very rare. And no current dumpers that exist can read it properly. I've never encountered one of these boards before, ever. This is what they look like on the inside. This is the name, number, etc. You might hear my dog clip-clopping around under the table here. Ignore that. But yeah, this is what it looks like, and I've never encountered one of these before, yet here are 4 of them. 4 of these extremely rare boards. They are functionally undumpable. I can get some information off of them, but it doesn't dump the whole thing properly, unfortunately. In an ideal world, someone would send one of these boards, not necessarily the owner here, but someone who owns one of these would send one of these to a developer of a dumper so they could make it compatible, but unfortunately, as it stands, got bad dumps from all of these. But we got enough to kind of tell where they're at in terms of whether they're beta or whatever. This is the PAL version of Toy Story 2, and this one is actually post-final. So the NTSC version received a revision of the original game that was released. This is sort of a revision of the PAL version of the game that was unreleased. So again, it's not beta, it's actually post-final. So if you are familiar with Ocarina of Time ROMs, you may remember there's 1.0, there's 1.1, 1.2, etc. It's sort of the modern equivalent of patches, I suppose, kinda, sorta, just revisions that were released of a particular game, but this wasn't released because it's post-final and never got released. Top Gear Rally doesn't correspond to any known version, so it's probably a little bit early. This one right here seemingly is different as well. This is the Rakaga Kids, and Chameleon Twist 2 is very likely final. Big thank you to Luigi Blood for taking a look at these. All right, next batch of N64 games. We got Ready to Rumble, Gauntlet Legends, Twisted Edge, Bass Hunter 64. Now, when I was opening these, I was like, oh, maybe this is that helicopter game. No, this is a snowboarding game. I'm a dum-dum. So what do we know about these ones here? Twisted Edge. This one's final. Bass Hunter 64. This one is nearly identical, minus a few bytes to the retail versions of the ROM that I found to the NTSC version. So again, sometimes there are revisions. Maybe this is equivalent to a different revision. I don't know. But it's really, really, really similar to final. Gauntlet Legends, PAL version. This one is final, not a beta. Sorry, everybody. I would have loved to see earlier versions of Gauntlet Legends. It would have been so, so cool. And we have Ready to Rumble. Now this one is a few bytes different, a little bit of data different from the final version of the game. So it's probably pretty close to final. However, I keep getting this error whenever I boot it up in emulator or on real hardware. When I take the ROM and boot it up in real hardware, I get this error, which I've never seen before. Makes it seem like maybe there's a region issue, but again, never encountered it before. Very, very strange. That's the N64 stuff. Let's move on to a little bit more of a positive note. Again, remember, sometimes when you're dumping, it's not always going to be Earthbound 64, overdumps, amazing stuff. Sometimes you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, that kind of thing. But the DS stuff is a little more promising. Here we have Lego Harry Potter. Now this has a debug mode, so therefore it's different than retail. I do have some issues with some of the stuff not loading, some of the features not loading in the debug menus. Maybe it requires more RAM, maybe you need actual dev hardware, not an emulator, I'm not quite sure. But again, different than Final, it has a debug menu. Nicktoons MLB 3D. I know all of you were just itching for this one. The data is different compared to the .3ds and .cia files that I found online. I'm unsure if there's other revisions that this might match, but seemingly it is slightly different. And no, I didn't spend hours and hours and hours playing Nicktoons MLB 3D to see if I could see any visual differences. I'm sorry. This is Indiana Jones. So the data is different than the retail builds that I found, both the US and European. I'm, again, unsure if there are other revisions, but this seemingly has some different information in it. Now, here's where things get really tasty. You may remember that we recently dumped and covered Lego Battles Castle. It was an unreleased game, and ultimately what happened was there was Lego Battles Castle, Space, and Pirates that were all combined into a game called Lego Battles. It was a like a strategy game, essentially. So this is a whole new version of Lego Battles Castle, an unreleased game, and this is different than the build that I dumped previously. I didn't dive too far into this, but even within the menus, you can see that there are some differences. And now we have Lego Battles Pirates. I didn't think that we'd have this windfall of Lego Battles games. Also, strangely, recently, if you watch some of our current videos, just 2025 seems to be the year of unreleased Lego DS games coming out, which wasn't on my bingo card. Very strange that we're getting all these. I'm obviously happy to see them, but it's a little bit odd. But either way, yeah, so this is the other sort of partner game that got turned into Lego Battles. You know, I played this for a little bit, and it seems to be a little bit more finished than the previous version of Castle that we played. This one is kind of quicker. You can build guys quicker, you can get moving quicker, it has a better pace. Real quick, we got our sample for Indiana Jones 3, the Taito version. There were a couple different Indiana Jones 3s, I believe. I think there were 2 of them for the NES, which is kind of strange. But yeah, so this one is final. Sorry, team. All right, here we have the Dreamcast builds. I was told that these were Dreamcast discs. As it turns out, they're actually not all Dreamcast. There's a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of confusion. So some of them are, some of them aren't. You know, we have South Park Rally here, South Park Rally here. My understanding is that these 2 are Windows versions of the game. Now here we have Dreamcast stuff, and this is a little strange because I've never seen anything quite like this, but I'm sure it probably is more common than I think because I don't typically dump Dreamcast stuff, though obviously certainly happy and willing to do it. But these are like patches for South Park Love Shack and South Park Rally. If you see here, the file size is super, super small. So these were just like little updates the developers could apply to the game itself, and not the actual game. So you can see here it has a patch name right there. This is similar right here. There's a lot of glare. There we go, that's a little bit better. But yeah, these are seemingly just updates for the games themselves, not the full game. All right, and lastly, we have our Turok 2 disc. Now, this was sort of listed within the Dreamcast disc, so when I was opening it up, again, I was doing an unboxing, so I'm like, cool, Turok 2, right? With the Dreamcast stuff. As it turns out, also not the case, just like those Windows discs. This is just a CD with 2 official pieces of artwork on it. Couldn't quite read this at the time, it said Loquas, and I think it's supposed to say logos. But yeah, it's 2 Turok 2 title logos. That's it. Official pieces of artwork, high res, nice to have, but nothing to do with the game itself. As far as game data goes, obviously it has to do with the game because it's, game art, but that's it. So again, sorry for the confusion there. I was under the impression this had something to do with the Dreamcast itself. It wasn't until further inspection after the video that I was like, oh, this is not related to that at all. So what does that mean for us? Well, we got some final versions of the game. We have some undumpable carts that hopefully will be dumpable at some point in the future. We have some unreleased stuff, and we really need someone who really knows what they're talking about regarding Dreamcast and Windows stuff to go through these discs right here. So a bit of a mixed bag, but definitely some gems. It's always important to at least try to dump everything because you really never know. That said, thank you again, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our channel members and our Patreon supporters for supporting the show. Hope to see you all back for the next one. Take care.
Thank you once again to Josh W. for sending these over. He will be personally releasing them, and when they are available, I'll be putting links in the description below, as well as on X/Twitter.